melt is when I'm ocean waves.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Messiah women's coach Scott Frey, whose team is going to the Final Four of Division III. Coach, thanks for doing this.
No, glad to. Appreciate the offer.
Oh yeah, it's and I should say congratulations. You're 84 graduate of Messiah, and I was looking through your record. It's pretty unbelievable. 6 NCAA championships. You have 20 Final Four. 20 Final Fours?
No, 14.
14 Final Fours. But at one point you had 9 straight, I believe, right?
I think that's true.
Yeah. You took, as a men's coach, you took Alma College to the Final Four in 1993. Just an amazing record. I was talking to Jeff Bowers about you, but others have given you credit for, setting them on the right path. What's been the key to your longevity and succeeding and loving this?
I wish I knew sometimes. No, I think I've always, coaching was just something I always wanted to do. Like I've always enjoyed working with groups, working with teams. I think it's the fun of competing and playing. Like I always thought, I wanted to be a high school gym teacher so I could coach. Like that was the reality of life, right? That was my vision. Someday be a phys ed teacher and coach, because I didn't want to work, right? Who wants to work? So I thought coaching was not work. But, I got into college coaching, fortunately. Can't say I looked at that happening early in life. But no, I just think I've always enjoyed that process piece of taking a group, whoever they are, whatever level, and just working with them. And I think fortunately I've been able to have, really good players and people who have bought into how we've envisioned things. I wish I really knew. I look back and go like, I don't know how that works or why it works. But I think part of it is, I think I have a vision for what I want a team to look like. I think been able to find players who want to work and get better. I think that's all we try to do, right? We just always try to keep getting better. And if you can do that, then coaching becomes, I call it's a disease, right? Coaching's a disease. Once you start doing it, even my daughter, who I thought would never, ever coach, she coached a team and she's like, I want to do it again. I'm like, you're catching the disease. It's bad. It's bad.
Maybe a bug, maybe not disease. We call it the coaching bug instead.
Yeah.
When you were playing sports yourself, soccer wasn't that high on the list.
No.
Everyone's watching the World Cup now. What sports did you play?
Yeah, I was the classic, high school kid that played everything. So soccer was just another game I played. We were like one of 3 high schools in our area that had it. So we had to do a lot of traveling back in the day. But played soccer, I wrestled, baseball, I loved. Then I played tennis. You name it, I wanted to play it. So, but soccer is what I really enjoyed through high school. And then that's what I ended up doing in college. And even in college, I wrestled for like 2 years, played a little tennis. Back in the days, that's what you did, right? You weren't just a one sport person. You did everything. So yeah, I just enjoyed the game. I wanted to be involved in coaching something. I didn't care what it was.
Yeah. Now Messiah is in Mechanicsburg. Is it in?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So did you grow up near? Did you grow up
I did.
near them? Okay.
Yeah, I grew up 20 minutes from Messiah.
Okay.
It was my home. And so this has always been home area.
Right. So it's big. It's probably big wrestling and football country, right? Where you
It
are.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad's like, you're not playing football.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that's why I played soccer. I needed something to do, and football wasn't going to be it.
And you played soccer at Messiah. Was Messiah a big soccer program? Right now it's the boys.
It was becoming, I think, at that point they had just won the NCC, so the National Christian College Championships.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went Division III, I think my sophomore year, because we won the NCCs my freshman year, Christian College. And then we went Division III my sophomore year. And yeah, Messiah was a, good program then. But didn't make it to the Final Four, I think, until 88, their first Final Four, but had made a couple tournaments in there. So yeah, soccer, Messiah doesn't have football. So soccer is sort of the game. And I was fortunate to play under Leighton Shoemaker, who was, definitely mentor of mine, was one of the leading D3 coaches in the country at that time as well. And so I was fortunate to step into a really good program with great leadership. Just gave me a good vision of what it could look like.
You know, when you think of the way soccer was played in those days, you know, the white ball with the big black patches and you know, the terrible grass fields, you know, the way the players received the ball was different. Everything was so different about the game. When you think about the great coaches of yesteryear, would they been great coaches today? Just they would have adjusted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because I don't think it has anything to do with the era. The game really hasn't changed. Let's be honest.
Oh.
If you have the ball, the other team can't score. If you need to be able to defend well, and you need creative players, you need a system and a structure. I don't think the game has changed as much as maybe people like to think. And I think, you know, I always listen, you know, I love to listen to other sports and other coaches. Like we all do that, right? Mm-hmm. Let's face it, you can turn on the NFL game and they're going to say, well, if special teams plays well and we block well and we don't turn the ball over, we have a good chance. They've been saying that for 100 years, right?
Right.
The game doesn't change.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I didn't really play soccer. My sister did, because soccer for women is really big in Northern Virginia, as you probably knew. Jill Ellis is my high school classmate, and Julie Cunningham. So many great women players and coaches. Mia Hamm is from in my area, and I played other sports. But you know, when I got into soccer, my son started playing in 2009, 2010. I remember when Spain won the World Cup. Everyone wanted to play ticky-tack triangles.
Yeah.
And then Germany dominated in 2014, and then it was more direct and athletic. You know, then now Liverpool's a top team in club, or they were last year at least. Yeah. So it's kind of direct, exciting, like they play high press. I've seen these evolutions in soccer only in the 12 years or so I've followed it. But you're saying what makes a great coach is to be able to go with all these changes, but the fundamentals of the game still don't change.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, the game has evolved. There's no doubt it has become more, I'd say more athletic. It's more pressing. It's more, you have to be able to play in tight spaces. Teams are saying, well, instead of sitting to defend, I'm going to press to defend, right? But everybody has a different idea. And I think that's the beauty of the game, right? You watch the World Cup and everybody's got their own little nuance and how they think it's best. And also part of coaching is how do I help my team? Like, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day. You know, our men's team, which is really good, like they're phenomenal, you know, and lost on penalty kicks to a team that just wanted to defend. And they're like, well, they just play ugly soccer. And I'm like, no, you can't say that. It's called, you have to give your team a chance to win. And sometimes you have to change tactics to allow your team to be competitive in that game. So you can't get mad at the tactics. Your job is to solve it on either end. And so everybody's not going to play the same way because everybody doesn't have the same players and everybody doesn't have the same thoughts. Like that's what coaching is, right? Taking what you have and making the best of it.
Well, is it important to you to play attractive soccer? And, you know, is that something that we even talked about 30 years ago? Did we talk about the method of play, like you were saying? That
I think we did. Yeah, I think we did. I know our coach here, Messiah, did. Like, that was important to him, how we played, what it looked like. Germany was the team in the era of that time.
Was that Beckenbauer? Was that?
Oh yeah. I mean, we all lived for Sunday evening and Soccer Made in Germany. That was the only soccer on TV, right? Once a week you could watch a German league game, watch the Bundesliga, and watch Beckenbauer. Hopefully they run. That was it. Yeah. Now you can watch it all the time, right? It's just so different. But the game then, you know, how he envisioned it. You passed the ball, you had possession. Like, we've had practices where everybody had to touch the ball before you could score because everybody needed to be involved. And Holland was big at that point too, in total soccer, right? Everybody played every position and it was very free flowing and all those things. And so all those things have had an influence. And I think the game has continued to develop and evolve, that players tactically and technically have just grown in our country to be able to play that way.
Well, how about the stresses on coaches now? I from all the coaches I've talked to, the job was much tougher than it was 15, 20 years ago. Not just soccer, but basketball as well. And there's more demands, more pressures on winning, which you've been able to do. But coaches are doing more. They're on the road more, doing more recruiting. And now you have with the NIL coming in, you got the transfer portal, you got the graduate students playing. With all, is the life of a coach, has it gotten harder over the years for you?
It's gotten different. All right. It's gotten different. Is it harder? I think as coaches, you make choices. I do. And I think, I don't say being older has made me wiser. But maybe it's maybe a little bit more aware of like all those rabbit holes aren't necessarily the end all to what we want to do and what I want in my program. Yeah, the portal's in an interesting new phenomenon, but I'm also going, does that develop a team and a culture that I want? Or does that just help me win games right now? And, I think there's just different ways of approaching the same thing. And I think there's a different pressure in D1 and D3. I do. I think there's a definite difference. I think there's a difference in how you want to possibly go about creating a team and an environment. I want to work with hopefully young women for 4 years and develop, relationships, whatever. And if all I'm doing is bringing in somebody who's unhappy because of where they are, and we're going to be really good for a year, I don't know, we can win games, but as you said, I've won games. And if my only joy was winning those games, coaching hasn't been that much fun then. Seriously.
Well, do you enjoy coaching at a school with no football? Because like I was reading about on homecoming, everyone wears white. It's a really big
Sure.
event. Yeah.
Well, I coached at a school with football when I was at Alma.
Mhm.
So nothing else existed but football. And it was fine. I don't know if it's any, different. I just think at Messiah, there's such a deep history of soccer throughout the school and the program and people who work here. There's just such a long legacy that's woven through it. Just has a different place than maybe a place that has football. And it becomes, I'm going to say the marquee, but it's one of the highlights of the fall is the soccer season. But I think you can do the same thing at a football school. I think those things are just, I don't know. I don't even know what I would call that. I call it irrelevant. That's what I do call it.
Yeah.
As a coach, I think most coaches, what do? We get into our world. We try to make the best of what we have. And if I'm worried about how it's perceived by everybody else, that's just a waste of energy and emotion and worry.
Yeah. So, well, one thing that you've been able to do is you've been able to develop a lot of coaches. My understanding, I believe, from Jeffrey is that a lot of people learn from you. Have you enjoyed being able to develop young coaches? And when you see a young player or even a young coach, do you know who's got the talent to be a successful coach?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's one of my joys. I've had several players now go on, whether they're coaching high school, club, college, whatever that might be. And yeah, I think more and more, like, I don't think I recognized that early in my career, but now I think it becomes more so. It's fun to see players love the game and be able to put back into the game the things that they learned here, I think in a really positive way, to know that there's good coaches out there doing a good job, not only with the game, but more importantly with their players. I do. I think there's a lot of people who get into coaching for the wrong reasons and have the wrong mindset about it. And I do. I walk around on Saturday and Sunday afternoons and I listen to club coaches and I'm like, wow, that's just, I feel for those kids because it's not good environment. I'm like, why are you paying that guy to yell at your daughter?
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm just like, and so, yeah, I'm excited when players leave this program and go on to coach, because I know they're going to do a good job. And those kids are going to have great experiences.
Well, you're talking about yelling at your daughter. You've done something that I don't know if anyone's ever done in college. Maybe it has been done, but you've taken a boys team and a men's team and a women's team to the Final Four. I don't think it's been done in basketball. It may have been, but I can't tell you offhand if it's been done. And maybe someone in soccer has done it.
I think in the soccer world, it's been done. I think in Portland, I want to say Clive Charles, for some reason, that name sticks in my head. I'm sure there's some who've done it. But I don't think it's a big list.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And what I'm getting at with that is, do you think it's a different skill set, coaching women and coaching men? I mean, obviously, the men are a little bit taller, maybe a little bit more athletic, of course. But is it a different skill set to be successful on the men's side as opposed to the women's side?
A little bit, yes, I do. I don't think everybody has the personality to coach women. I don't think everybody has the personality to coach men. Yeah, I'll sometimes look at men who get into coaching, and I go like, not sure they have the personality for it. And some I go like, you got it exactly.
Yeah.
Being able to, relationship is huge with women, right? I've always said, I enjoyed both. But if you can get a group of young women to believe in you and to trust you, and that's huge, right? Believe and trust, they'll do anything. They're the most loyal, committed group of individuals you can get, where guys, they don't have to really care a whole lot sometimes, right?
Yeah.
They just want to just give you a chance to play, and whatever that might be. But I would also say on the men's side, if you can develop that culture in that group, which I think is what Messiah men have done really, really well, then you have the best of both worlds. And I think that's what we try to do here, is like the best of both worlds is, really competitive. Because I know with some coaches who have coached on the women's side, it's been challenging to get women to be competitive, right? To work hard, to compete against each other. I think we've worked through that here, that it's what you do. It's part of our culture. Being prepared and working hard is what you do. And it's okay to tackle and compete against your teammate to make them better. Because that's what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One thing you kind of touched at is I've always thought with men, boys players, watching my son, they can hate their teammates and still play well. I think with women, with girls too, the more harmony on the team, you maximize at a higher rate than you do on the boys' side.
Oh, it's huge. If you have a rift on a women's team, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
You're dead. They can get so far, but in the end, you'll never maximize. But if you get a group of young women who believe in each other and love each other and trust and care, you can be a whole lot better than your talent.
Yeah. Well, how about recruiting? I noticed for a program with your record, you have a lot of women from local. I mean, a lot of Pennsylvania people. Most of the time when you get I look at the rosters of these squads, like like a Washington League Boys Club, whatever, they're from all over, or Johns Hopkins. But you guys, most of your players are nearby.
Yeah, it just has worked that way a little bit. Messiah's a faith-based school, Christian school. We sit in a place that's, if you want to call it, conservative, fits our school history background, and good soccer at the same time. Mm-hmm. So within an hour of here, we have really good club and high school soccer, and in communities and groups that fit Messiah as well. So it's just a good mesh where we sit. And then we're a little bit regional. I think we're a very regional school. I say Pennsylvania and states that touch us. Yeah. We have a chance to get kids from. To go much beyond that is pretty unusual for us. Like, we have a girl from Texas. That's unusual. We might have had a girl from Arizona. That's unusual. So I don't spend a whole lot of time doing that. I don't travel around the country. I'm not going to Vegas or California, because that's not who we I think reach and fits our school demographics as well.
I think that the benefit of that would be if the team and the school has a particular culture, folks nearby are more likely to know about it, and it's not a surprise when they get there, because they know what Messiah stands for, and so that's where they want to go.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Like, we have young women who 2-3 years out or go like, Messiah's where I want to go. It fits me as a person. It fits me as a school. It's what I want academically and relationally and institutionally. And they want to be here. I don't feel often that I'm trying to sell. If I'm trying to sell you Messiah, it's the wrong thing. I want you to look at Messiah and go like, that fits me. That's who I am. That's where I want to be.
Is the men's team the same way in terms of where the player?
He's a little bit more national than we are, but they do just as well locally. But they've done a good job, I think, of stretching a little bit further geographically.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your team a little bit. I mean, I believe you won 20 games, lost 1, and tied 3. So I think I got it right. A great record. You won the Middle Atlantic Conference, or is it Commonwealth District or Middle Atlantic Conference?
It's 2-1. So the MAC conference is actually 2 conferences in one. It's made up, I think it's of 16 schools now, 17 schools. And so in most sports, it's divided into the Commonwealth and Freedom. We're in the Commonwealth.
Gotcha.
But in some sports where there aren't as many teams, they're just all come under the MAC heading. So
Gotcha.
it's a little different group, but
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting about your team is you guys, some of the teams that I've seen in the Final Four, like half the games were 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. Your guys' scores are more 1-0, 2-0. Mostly, I don't want to say close games, but the games they look competitive on paper at least. Your team is very well balanced in scoring. You have Rachel Turgon, 13 goals, 8 assists. Kylie Firestone, 10 goals, 6 assists. Brianna Selt, 10 goals, 2 assists. You have a lot of players who scored for you. So you have a balanced team.
yeah. And I think that's sort of been the nature of this group. Like, we're not amazingly offensively. I think we're pretty decent defensively. Don't think we have like magic stud player like we've had in the past. Like some girl is just going to get you a goal all by herself, right? But I think we have a lot of capable players that if you lose track of them, they can find a way to get something done. And so to me, like this group has probably been, I call them gritty. That's who they are. Like you're right. You look at the scores. We played a really good schedule. Like, to play Hopkins, William Smith, those teams that we've played, which I know are always there, which is why we play them. Like, to be like, I wasn't surprised Hopkins, who I think is maybe the best team. They're just good. But we played those teams and we could hold our own. And so I always felt that we were able to compete with anybody, but I didn't feel like we were like a step above, those teams at the top of the in the country. And because, we've been there, throughout it, and I know what it looks like a bit, but I always felt like we can compete with any of them. And I think that's what this team is able to do. It just gritty and keep ourselves in the game long enough to, if something good happens, great, we're still around.
There's something very empowering about a team that wins a lot of close games. They're in every sport because they tend to be very dangerous in tournament time.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the beginning of the season, we were behind 3 out of our first 4 or 4 out of our first 5 games. We fell behind. Like that doesn't happen to us very often in a season. We've had seasons where we were behind for like 20 minutes or something, something crazy. This group has had from day one, our first game, come from behind. Everything was just hard. But, as you just said, hard is good sometimes, like most times, because somewhere along the line, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, it seems like teams that win easily, once they start struggling in a game, the pressure can kind of mount, and sometimes things go, it can go badly quickly if the team's used to that kind of struggle. So so I looked at your tournament run, and you looked like you played Penn State, a local Penn State affiliate, but you played my high school classmates team Emory in the round of 16. Sue Patberg. I went to high school. She was a year behind me, a year behind Jill Ellis as well. So I knew Sue. I've interviewed her as well. So what kind of game was the Emory game?
That's what I expected. Like what I like about Emory, I think they're a really technical team. When I watched them play, on video a bit, I was just like, wow, they have ideas. They have skillful players. They play like I would want to play, right? Just with thoughts and ideas and stretch the field a bit. So I knew it was going to be a really interesting game tactically. And so my hope was we could disrupt them being comfortable. That's what I was hoping to do, is disrupt them being comfortable, because I knew if they got into, a rhythm and flow, they have a lot of talented players. So that was sort of the hope, to be able to disrupt them a bit. Yeah.
It worked out pretty well. And then you played Washington University to get to the Final Four, and you ended up winning in penalty kicks. What was that game like?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it was the opposite, but it was what I expected. Like WashU, we played several times in the NCAA tournament. And again, another coach who's been there, has won it, well organized, but much more physical and direct. And I knew we were just going to have to handle being defended tight, like no space, no time. When you receive it, you better play it or you're going to get bumped. You're going to have somebody in your back pocket. And, the first half, tactically, I probably didn't set us up right. And then the second half, we changed it and it made a difference. Again, we fell behind. We were down 1-0 at halftime and came back and scored 2 early in the second half. And I thought at that point, I thought we were in a pretty good space and the game had turned our way. And then they had a girl rip her first goal of the year. She hit a laser into the upper 90. I'm like, that's a good goal. Can't argue that. That was a great goal. Good job. And that just changed the game again. So, the momentum switched and then it just became a slugfest and 2 teams that were running out of gas. And yeah, then we go to PKs against them, I think probably for the second or third time against them. Well, I think the third time against them. Yeah.
You put a lot of thought into the strategy of penalties, or is it kind of a random thing?
Yes and no. Mostly no. We've been through it so often. There was a period early on. This is why it's sort of funny. Early on in my career here, we won like 4 or 5 in a row, right? PKs. So everybody thinks you know what you're doing. Well, then we lost like 5 in a row, 6 in a row. Like we couldn't win a PK to save our life. We even started a book club with another coach. It was 3 of us who had lost on PKs, reading some book on PKs. I don't know. Everybody has their own philosophy. I don't know. Even in this last one, like the fact that we made 5 out of 5, I'm like, didn't see that coming at all. I just think you try to find players who are tough enough to handle the moment and to hit it hard on frame, and you got a chance, right? But it takes somebody just like who can handle the moment. And I think that's the hardest piece, is finding players who can handle the moment and will just trust themselves. Yeah.
Do you think it's fair? I mean, can you think of a better way?
It's fair.
you think of a better way to decide who should advance?
I don't know. I think it's the unique thing of soccer, right? It's what makes it this strange game. And I think that's why you watch the World Cup, right? It's because you don't have to be the best team to advance. You just have to get to the end with the same number of goals as the other team and then kick more balls into a net against the keeper.
Yeah.
And you get to play again. It's a really strange game. I don't think there's any other game like it right now, right? Basketball, you have to play it out. Baseball, you play baseball. Field hockey has gone to, they actually play 7-a-side in field hockey. So they just take people off the field. I don't know if that would work in soccer, play 7-a-side. Could you see that? I don't know. That would be crazy.
I've seen that some youth tournaments use that format, and I've seen it done.
Yeah,
it's a little strange, but
it's a little strange, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a better way, but I do know one thing. As a fan, you love it, right? As a fan, it might be the most intriguing thing there is.
Yeah, I just feel so bad for the ones that miss.
Sure. It's horrible.
It's horrible. So
horrible. Yeah. Those poor kids. Like, I don't know if there is a better way. It's just what soccer is, and I think it's part of the uniqueness of the game. Like you play 90 minutes of fighting like crazy, and then you throw somebody at the penalty spot and say, "Let's kick it by your keeper and see what happens."
Exactly.
It's a crazy game.
Well, we're going to be welcoming you to Virginia very soon. And first of all, what do you think about the format? You play 2 games a weekend for 2 weeks in a row, and then you have two weeks off. You have Thanksgiving, and then you have the Final Four. Do you like that format?
It is better. I mean, it used to be back in the day, we would play over Thanksgiving break. So that was the normal format until maybe, I don't even know, maybe 10 years ago-ish. So you always hope not to be home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. That was the hope.
Yeah.
But when they moved it to the next weekend, it's been helpful just to have a breath, to get logistics together, let players rest a little bit. It's much better set up this way with a week in between. That's for sure. Yeah.
And you're playing a familiar opponent. You talked about Johns Hopkins earlier in this call. And I think you guys tied the first time around. And so do you enjoy playing a familiar opponent, or would you rather in a national tournament play someone a little bit new? Because it's one of those games where
play somebody new. Yeah. I think it's always better to play somebody who hasn't seen you, that doesn't really know you. We play each other every year. Like we've played each other every year since I've been here. So 20 years of playing Johns Hopkins. We've played each other regular season, postseason. They're such a good program, such good players, well coached. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that after that game when we played, I think we played them the second game of the season. I'm like, that team's a Final Four team. Like they got all the pieces to be here at the end. So there's no surprise for them being here.
Yeah. So what are the keys to victory for Messiah?
Wow. I think similar to them, I think we need to disrupt them somehow, not let them just stand at midfield and have the ball because they're so physically strong. They got pace up front. They got talent. They got 3-4 players who can just score the goal, score the ball. And I think we have to make them uncomfortable in the back somehow. I think that's the first piece. And the second piece is we have to keep the ball whenever we can. Like for us to win it and then try to, just go forward and hit a home run, it's not going to happen. We have to make them defend because I don't know if they love to defend. I don't think they're built to defend because they don't have to. They're so good with the ball and they're so good at winning the ball back. And so for us to have a chance, I think we have to make them uncomfortable with it. And then when we get it, we have to keep it for an extended period of time.
Yeah. Well, great, Coach. Well, look, I wish you the best of luck. You're such a legend. I mean, I don't think I've seen a coach with a record like yours. So, obviously you're such a credit to your sport and your tradition. So I do wish you luck. It was an honor to talk to you. And thanks for taking the time to give me your thoughts.
No, I appreciate it. Appreciate the invite. I think legend just means you're old. I think that's the
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You're the first person that caught that because we have Facebook groups and it's based in Northern Virginia. It's called Nova Legend and it's basketball, it's football, it's soccer, and I have my own high school, Robinson, as well. And it was tongue in cheek. I meant to say old. And I think when I first started the group, people thought I meant everyone had to be a great player. I'm like, no, this just means you're old. You're the first person that caught me on that.
Oh no. Oh, that's all that means.
That's right. Well, again, from one legend to another, Coach. I wish you the best of luck and thanks again for doing this.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Coach. Take care.